Hello and welcome to Lawyerish, a podcast for the people. Lawyerish is a safe space to learn, grow, inspire, and be inspired. So come along and ride on this fantastic voyage. Let us go be great together. I'm J Wallace, Esquire, and I'll be your captain. It's a whole vibe, and I sure am glad you're here. Lawyerish is brought to you by Apex, where aptitude meets excellence, and powered by the Green Law Firm, your one-stop shop for everything real estate in Tennessee and Mississippi. Our voyage vibe today is brought to us by Irvin David Higgins, aka David Higgins. This is Back Bit of Sound. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. Shout out to the Memphis Music Bank for helping us contact to get these great songs. I'm really liking this vibe. It's very much island, very much giving island vibes today. So appreciate that. Shout out to David Higgins. He's a guitarist and a bassist, so we're glad to partner with him and share his music today. What a vibe. Got an exciting show today, guys. I'm back. I'm glad to be back here, back in the chair and back in the mix with each and every one of you. I've got some great friends today that we're going to chat with. I can't wait to talk with them, so let's not belabor it. Let's get right in to Duly Noted. That vibe today, y'all. That's more of my speed. It's giving me beach right now. All right, so duly noted today. I just want to first, I got a couple of just quick points I want to make in duly noted today. First, I really want to shout out my friends over at Berkeley Elementary School. I just left there today. They had Career Day, and I was honored to represent the profession of both lawyers, attorneys, and podcasters, which is interesting. But it was a great time chatting with those elementary school students. It was tough. My goodness. The way they had it set up, it was in the gym. I had a booth, and they brought groups and classes of about, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 kids around to each booth. And basically, I had to give my spiel each time. And so I'm a little exhausted. I just had my espresso shot, so I'm perking up again. But it was really great hanging out with those young people. And I want to encourage all of us to not forget to hang out with our kids and to, if you ever have an opportunity to do a career fair, career day, or read to young people, we really got to do better about, or do more, I should say, do more of that as adults. It's really great opportunity to see the children and engage with them, and for us to see, for them to see and engage with other adults outside of their parents and teachers. To that end, I also want to just shout out all the teachers, all the staff support, the counselors, the security personnel, the librarians, all the folks out there working hard every single day with our children. That is a profession that is not for the faint of heart. You got to be called to do that. And so I really want to shout out all of our teachers and principals and assistant principals, our counselors, all the folks taking care of our babies every day. We appreciate y'all. Thank you for what you do. All of our educators, shout you out. Blessings to you. I want to give a special shout out to my friend Cheyenne Garden. She's a teacher in the DC, Maryland area. She is one of the first teachers. She's been a longtime friend, and we're classmates out of Howard University. But she's one of the first teachers that got me engaged in coming to career fairs or career days, I should say, and reading to young people and just getting me out in front of young people. I think that is so important. Particularly as a Black attorney, our young people need to see us doing great things outside of basketball and entertainment. Nothing wrong with those professions. We rock with those folks too, but we want our kids to know that there are lots and lots of other options, and they don't get to see Black lawyers enough, right? So shout out to all of you. Thanks, Cheyenne. She's a good friend and a faithful listener. Love you, friend. Thank you so much. My other piece on Duly Noted today, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas out there. This at the time of this recording, Mother's Day is upon us. And so I want to just shout out to all the mamas. Happy Mother's Day to you, especially to mine. Happy Mother's Day to you, Mama. I love you so much. I want to send prayers and blessings to all those who are celebrating the memories of their mothers on Mother's Day or during this time. This can be a challenge. And we certainly understand that here at Lawyerish, and want to let you know that we are sending you love and blessings today and every day. And then lastly, I want to send love and encouragement to all the women out there who want to be mamas or wish they could be mamas, or who've had to bury their babies at some point in time. I just wanted to let you know that we're thinking about you and we love you, right? Happy Mother's Day. And thank you for the mothering that you continue to do in your everyday lives. You don't understand, or you may not understand, that you are mothering people every day, every time you meet people, and in the work that you do. We just want to encourage you and send you love and thank you for all of that and all that you do. We're praying for you here at Lawyerish, and we love you. So happy Mother's Day to all of you and to everyone celebrating in one way or another. That's duly noted today. We'll be right back with Lawyerish. All right, friends, we are back, and it's now time for Lawyerish. I'm super excited today to welcome my good friend, my former classmate and fellow attorney, Miss Lakuita Bittle. Lakuita is now she's the director of Attorney Ministries at Christian Legal Society. I've known her for many moons. She also worked at the Assistant State's Attorney's Office in Prince George's County. She's been a good friend of mine for many moons. I could say many great things about her, but I'm going to let her tell us a little bit about who she is and what she does. I know her she's from North Carolina and represents home well. She is a fantastic attorney, even better friend, and a great woman of God. And so I'm so happy to welcome Ms. Lakuita Bittle to Lawyerish. Thank you so much, Lakuita. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for having me on. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. It's been too long, friend. You're looking great, and I'm just excited to talk to you today because I think you have such an interesting job and perspective. Not just, you just have perspective on life anyway. I just enjoy talking with you because I always find it enlightening. But you have taken a very interesting path in the law. And I want to talk about what you're doing and how you're, sort of able to balance your sort of commitment to your faith plus the practice of law. Anyway, we'll get to all of that. But before we do, can you just tell us, how you ended up going to law school? How did you start that journey? What did that look like?
Absolutely. Well, of course, as you said, it's all about my faith. It is the Lord that called me to law, but on the more practical standpoint of what happened on the earth is that when I was young, my parents, we lived outside in a rural area, and my parents had advocated for me to get into a different school system, which had an academically gifted program because they wanted me to excel in academics. And so my brother and I got switched to a new school system around the third grade. And in that school system, once I got to middle school, they were starting what's called teen court. And a lot of people are probably familiar with that. So it's a diversion program nationwide. And teen court was looking for volunteer attorneys. And my parents always said, you talk so much and everything has to be fair. You are going to definitely be a lawyer. And they were right. My brother and I and two other young ladies from my church, we went into this program called Teen Court. We learned how to be lawyers, and we got paired up with some older gentlemen that were teaching us how to do opening statements and closing arguments and all of those different things. And it was just a great experience. It was a great experience. And so I wanted to be a lawyer, but my equivalence of being a lawyer equaled being a prosecutor, because in the teen court program, you have to admit responsibility. You have to admit that you were involved in the crime. And so I did not want to represent people who were definitely guilty. So I always wanted to be on the prosecution side.
I can see that. Okay, so you were on the prosecution side. That got you, so it got your feet wet a little bit. And was this like high school that we're talking about here, right?
Yep. So it was middle school. It started off in the 8th grade, and then it went through high school as well. Yeah, it was a great experience. In fact, 3 of the 4 of us that I just mentioned are lawyers. My brother, and my friend Michelle that came from my church. So 3 out of the 4 of us. The other twin, she became, she was interested in computer science and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, for the win. She probably was the winner out of all of you.
She is. Less stress, more work-life balance.
Yes, absolutely. I can see that. Okay, so you get through high school, you went to college. Where'd you go to undergrad?
Oh, Brandon, that's a long story, but let me give you the short version.
Okay.
I went on a scholarship to UNC Charlotte. First generation college student. You know how Black parents can be a little bit, a little pushy. So they were like, "Oh, you need to get a job." So I got a job, get some extra income. Got 2 jobs, working the front desk. And I went through a very dark season in my life, just depressed, just far away from home, and just did not know what that was going to look like. What do I major in? What is this studying thing? I didn't have to really study much in high school. Grades came really easy to me. Long story short, I got placed on academic probation, and I never did get my grades up. It was just one semester after the next, and ended up getting academically dismissed. And so got the little pink slip to go home. And that was very humiliating. So I went home, and I didn't give up. I went and got my associate's degree. It took me about a year, so 3 semesters to do that. Got my associate's degree from Guilford Tech in North Carolina. And then I got another scholarship to go to High Point University. So I graduated from High Point University in December of 2003. And so that's my short version.
Okay, and then you went on to law school eventually, though, right? I think that's where we met. So you were in the work field for a while, and then you decided to go to law school. What was the catalyst behind deciding to go back to school?
So I always wanted to go to law school, but God had an interesting path for my life. Like you said, I worked before I went to law school. It was almost 10 years. I took the LSAT my last year at High Point University. I did not perform well. I did not have a clue what I was doing. But I did get a teaching job to come here to the DC area. So that's how I ended up here, and just allowed mentorship and different connections of lawyers. I didn't know any Black lawyers growing up. I didn't even know it could be for me, but I wanted to do it. I felt like I was called to do it. And so I just was searching for information. And the last 4 years before I went to law school, I was at Georgetown Law School and met some amazing lawyers and professors that were able to talk to me about the process and helping me figure out how to strengthen my application. And the first time I applied to UDC, where we met, I was waitlisted. And so, it was just a long journey from 2003 until I started law school in 2012. And so actually, truth be told, I didn't directly get into law school. I did a conditional admittance. So I went through the conditional admittance program the summer before I could start law school to make sure I could academically perform because of my GPA being so low and my LSAT score being so low. So that's the short version of my testimony of how God got me all the way here.
Well, I thank you for sharing that. I think that's so important because, there is there's so much pressure on trying to get the grades and score well. I mean, it's a lot of pressure in that. And so it's good for people to be able to know and understand, right, that there's more than, as I say in the old days, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? Yep. Like there are, there's not just one path forward. I have a similar story to yours in the sense that I worked after undergrad. I went to Howard undergrad and I worked for some time before deciding to go back to law school. And I didn't perform very well on my LSAT the first time I took it when I finished undergrad back in 2007. That's part of the reason why I didn't go. But I just didn't want to go to law school at that point anyway. I just wasn't ready. But I was able to, when I was ready to go back to law school, I did spend a lot of time. I took an LSAT course. I had to practice. I had to, because, those tests are not really made for us, right? They're not designed. They're designed to trick you. And on top of that, they're not really designed for, people of color, right?
Right.
It's kind of skewed in a sense, and so. But we have to work really hard, right? As I think
Yeah.
that's sort of the part of the testimony of what you have to say, what you're saying, and part of mine as well. We have to work a little bit harder to get as far in life. So I appreciate you sharing that. So you get into law school. You finally did get in, right?
Yep. I did. I
Despite the
did it.
delays, right?
I blew it out the water, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you did something. You
Yes.
didn't allow your delays to deter you. And I think that's something certainly to be celebrated. And something that we need to, continue to be reminded of each and
That'll
every day.
preach.
Okay.
Don't let your delays
All
deter
by
you.
itself. That was one of our motivational moments as part of the season. So I'm just kind of pulling from that,
Wow.
but it's true. That's a true statement, a true sentiment. And so and you are a living, breathing example of that. And I love that. So you went to law school, you graduated,
Mhm.
and then you found your way back to your prosecutorial roots. Can you tell us about what that was like being in the state's attorney's office in Prince George's County, Maryland?
Absolutely. It was amazing. I always wanted to be a prosecutor. I loved every part of the experience, minus the long hours. But it's just a beautiful experience. So one of the main reasons, aside from not wanting to represent guilty people, I really wanted to be a prosecutor. One of the main reasons is because I never saw a Black lawyer growing up, but I did see Black defendants. And in fact, I saw my brother as a Black defendant. And for me, I felt like having a Black or brown person across the aisle, and also because we grew up with limited resources, I would say poor, basically. And so you see people on the prosecutor side that have experience, that look like people who are being accused of crimes, that can relate to those experiences and find solutions that are practical, that are not just incarceration. And for me, that was the determining factor of I absolutely do want to be a prosecutor. I really enjoyed it. I clerked in the grand jury unit. And of course, the tests don't stop with the LSAT, the bar exam. So I had to take that again. So I continued clerking, which was a full-time position, screening handgun and drug cases. And then I was sworn in as a prosecutor in 2017. Amazing experience. Did everything from, DUI traffic cases to second-degree assault cases to attempted murder cases before I left. And it was just rewarding to be able to find solutions, rehabilitation, restitution. What does it look like? Diversion opportunities, things to really get to the root of the crime and see the person as an individual with dignity. And to me, that was my goal the whole time. Prosecute with integrity and treat people with dignity, and always be transparent and honest. And that's really what you don't always find. There's a lot of, prosecutors get a lot of criticism, and it's similarly to the police officers. People think you just want to lock up Black and brown people, but some of them do need adult timeouts. Don't get it twisted. But some people need an opportunity to see something different. One of the most powerful cases I had was a junior out of Morgan State University in Baltimore. And he was pulled over for tinted windows, and he had a little bit of marijuana, and he had a handgun. But the whole time he was completely honest and transparent with the cops. And I saw it on video. And I was like, I'm not asking for time or incarceration. I don't even want him to be on probation. Like, this guy has never seen the jail before. Like, he is a college student. And thankfully, the judge went along with what the defense counsel was asking. And I just refrained from talking. I was like, go ahead and allocate for your client. I have to ask for what I have to ask for. And I just prayed and asked God to move. And sure enough, the judge did not give him. He gave him probation before judgment in Maryland. Of course, it's immediate eligible for expungement. So it was just a beautiful experience to be in those opportunities, to be able to give second chances, and then also to be able to fight for victims, for people who actually do need a little bit of time of incarceration. So I got a chance to do all of it, and it was just a great experience.
Yeah, I think that is so poignant. The fact that as a prosecutor, I don't think people don't always know that, but as a prosecutor, you have quite a bit of authority and influence, right? That's prosecutorial. Let me see if I can say this: prosecutorial discretion.
Yeah.
You have a lot of discretion, and that weighs a lot both on the court and on the outcome of the case. And so it's having someone in the chair who is experienced and knows our culture, knows, that really goes a long way. And I like that also like the fact that you say some people need a grown-up timeout. It's a myth to say that Black people don't like law enforcement and we don't like prosecutors. That's not true. Black people, we like to be safe. We want our grandmothers to be able to go up and down the street and be safe and go to church. We like that. We want our cars and our homes to be safe. We want to be safe. What we don't want to be is discriminated against. We don't want our rights infringed upon, and that's what we're talking about. But we like to feel safe and be safe, and we want the criminals off the street just as much as anybody else. To say otherwise is a myth. And so the work of the prosecutors is really important. Anyway, I'm off on a little bit of a tangent.
No, it's good.
So I want to get to what you're doing now. You're the director of Attorney Ministries at Christian Legal Society. Can you tell us about Christian Legal Society and what you do, what your day-to-day sort of looks like now?
Yeah. So in 2021, well, in 2020, actually, as the pandemic hit and culture wars broke out and just a lot of stuff was going on, I just really was seeking the Lord about what's next. What does it look like? And I was burnt out, to be honest with you. I mean, 6 years in the prosecutor's office and just working 12 to 14-hour days. And I just sought the Lord, and he brought me back to where the intersection of my faith met the intersection of the practice of law. And that was Christian Legal Society. And as you probably remember, I was the president of our Christian Legal Society at our law school. And so I was just seeking through the job opportunities, and this job that I'm currently in was available, and I wasn't really sure, and so what I get to do as the director of Attorney Ministries, one of the things I get to do is publish a magazine called The Christian Lawyer, where I get to encourage and equip Christian attorneys in the practice of law and the practice of their faith. So when I went for my final interview, I still wasn't sure. I was like, I just need to go and apply for a different office. And I went for my final interview, and the CEO at the time, well, he's still the CEO, my boss, he said, if you come on board as the director of Attorney Ministries, you'll get to work with the Attorney Ministries chapters. You'll get to be able to publish this magazine, working with different authors on different topics to encourage Christian lawyers. And he pulled out the magazine that says, when God calls you to something new. And to me, that was a sign. I was like, okay, I always want to be a prosecutor, but I am being shifted to something new. So I shifted. 2021, I started. I have been there since March of 2021. It's an amazing experience. I get to travel all over the U.S. and minister to attorneys. It's more of a ministerial position. I get to use my lawyer hat for a lot of things, but it's not every single day. It's really just encouraging Christian lawyers. I know you're tired. I know you're weary. I know you have all this workload, but you need to take care of yourself. You need to feed your spirit. You need to get some physical exercise. You need to do all that. And I'm trying to lead by example, as you probably know, but it's just, having the reassurance of, Christian Legal Society is here as a support. So to answer your question about what is Christian Legal Society, so that's a little bit about what I do, but we are a nonprofit and nonpartisan organization, standing on biblical principles, where we encourage those to integrate their faith into the practice of law. And so we're dedicated to Jesus through the practice and study of law, but we're also committed to religious freedom and the sanctity of life, as well as serving the poor and the needy. So we have Christian legal aid clinics, hundreds of them all across the nation. In fact, I'm volunteering tomorrow at the one in Gaithersburg, and we provide free services to the public. You don't have to be a Christian to come, but just know you're going to have Christian lawyers to love on you. And so it's just been a beautiful experience to mentor law students. We also do that. We have law student chapters all across the nation. And then we fight for religious freedom. And that can be any religious freedom. We have an Rastafarian that we're representing that is fighting to be able to keep facial hair. So religious freedom, all religious freedom that impacts, of course, the Christian faith. So it's just been a good experience to be able to do that.
That's really interesting. Interesting works here. So I think you kind of started on a little bit about what I want to kind of delve into a little bit, because you said religious freedom, and it's not just Christian religious freedom. So I'm understanding that piece. The other piece I was curious about is the sanctity of life that you fight for. What does that mean? Because those that can be charged words in today's society. Yeah. What does that mean exactly for you guys?
It definitely is charged words. I would love for us to do from the womb to the tomb, but
Yeah.
mainly the issues that we talk about are the womb. So making sure that we fight for the rights of the unborn child. So we filed an amicus brief in the recent Dobbs case that was released 2 years ago. And yeah, so it's really the sanctity of life, meaning life as God defines it at the moment of conception.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting position for sure.
Hmm.
And I imagine there could be a lot of blowback for that, because I think what we're seeing quite a bit in the nation is what about the life of the mother? And I think you also sort of
Absolutely.
alluded to it, like what about after the womb? And so it just seems that there's a lot of attention there, but maybe not as much after the womb. And so how do you balance
Yeah.
that? That's kind of something that we're
I
dealing with in the nation.
I definitely agree with you. The magazine that I just did, the last issue was post Dobbs. What does life look like post Dobbs? And I write about that in my article. What about the woman, right? You want them to save the child's life, but what about the woman? What are you doing to provide support, wraparound services to her? Are you going to shun her because she's having a baby outside of marriage? Or is that what we're going to do in the body of Christ? Are we going to wrap our arms around her? Are we going to, are we going to support a married couple if they don't want to have another child and they actually have that child? What are we going to do financially in the body of Christ? What are the churches going to do? It's really a call for the church to rise up. Sure, we won the Dobbs case from the church standpoint, but have we really won it? Are we really walking it out to be able to care about every single individual, the mother, the father, the child, all of it? And I just really think we're not there yet. And that's just the truth be told. And so we really need to, and I'm not saying we as in Christian Legal Society, I'm saying we as the body of Christ, right? So CLS, we do sanctity of life issues, but it is something that we need to talk about. What are we going to do about the mother? What are we going to do about anybody else except for the child? The schools, the churches, everybody needs to come together and kind of figure out what this looks like. And I don't think we have the answer there yet, but we're getting there.
I hope we get there a little sooner than we're getting there, because I do think it is a real challenge. There's some real problems in the world, and it's not just womb related, right? It is clearly much more than that. And unfortunately, we're often very silent about it. Okay, I am running out of time. Unfortunately, I could talk to you about that all day, but I want to get to my favorite question and before I let you go. So I always ask this. I'm always interested to know what's been your sort of greatest shining moment in your career thus far, and maybe what's also been your most teachable moment. Maybe you can pick one of them or both. I'll let you choose either what's been like, oh wow, this has really been great, and I'm doing what I want to be doing right now. You may have shared that already too with this one case that you talked about in the state's attorney's office. But maybe there's another, and then maybe we want to know if there is maybe one that is something that was like, oh boy, that was something I learned a lesson.
Well, I'll start with the I guess the highlight of my career. It's actually not related to being a prosecutor or being at Christian Legal Society. It's actually my adjunct professor position. I teach at a law school, Trinity Law School. This semester, I'm teaching criminal procedure, and it is such a blessing to pour into the next generation, to see students who are in the position that I was in 10, 12 years ago, and just really see them like connect and really get it and understand there's somebody that cares about them. And I remember there's so many people that have been in my life that have cared about me, and to really help cultivate the practice of law and just all that I went through to get here. And so for me to be able to pour into the next generation, I'm about to cry, Brandon. Why am I about to cry? For me to be able to pour into the next generation and just to be able to show them that, like, we love you, we care about you, we're not your adversary. Like, it feels like in law school, your professors are against you, but when you know that they really, really care about you and they want to see you succeed, I think that's a beautiful experience. I had an opportunity to sit down with two young ladies, actually two Black young ladies that are in my class. I got to sit down with them one on two, basically, and just share with them my journey, my experience, and just let them know my testimony. Like, look, I've been here. You can do this. And to me, when they were just sitting there and just pouring their hearts out, and I was pouring mine out, and I was just sharing with them, like how they're going to get there, and eventually it just doesn't feel like it right now, that was just a beautiful experience. And so for me, I love teaching, although I may not do it next semester because it's a lot. But I just love being able to see law students receive what I was able to receive. So that would be my highlight. The challenging moment or the teachable moment that I had was I know that when you're a prosecutor, it's not always about winning. It is about justice. So some cases you have to dismiss, and some cases you have to move forward with, because that's what justice looks like for both the defendant and the victim. I had a particular case where the defendant was definitely guilty. It was a domestic violence case. But unfortunately, I did not get the evidence in that I wanted to get in. And the judge, I tried so many different ways. I called my supervisor, took a recess, tried to get the evidence in so many different ways. And she just wouldn't let it in. And now I feel like I'm about to cry again. It came back not guilty. And that meant that the defendant, who would have been deported had he been found guilty, was released, and her life was in jeopardy. Like, he basically tried to kill her multiple times. And I cried and I cried and I cried. I'm like, God, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And it was a while before God gave me the reassurance that even though I lost the case, that I didn't lose the battle, because what ended up happening 2 years later, the police officer, the detective that was assigned to the case, he and his wife ended up adopting the victim. And he told me, and I was like, oh my God, she's safe. She's still doing well. Like, I just was like, oh my God. Like, I just felt like, man, my life is not over. She's still alive, you know? And so the teachable moment would be like, even as lawyers, we try really hard. We try to win all of our cases. We try to do what we feel like is the just outcome. And it doesn't always look like that at the moment, but just realizing that God is in complete control, and the things that we can't even see that are happening, He's actually working in our favor behind the scenes. So to me, that was a teachable moment. Just feeling like every loss is really not a loss.
That's beautiful. I think you stepped all over my motivational moment for this episode, but it's all right. We're going to reinforce it. No, that's really good. All right. So my last question, and I'm over time, but it's been I have a really good time talking to you. My last question, if you had to go back, and if you could tell your younger self something, or tell some younger person who's in law school and maybe struggling or early in their career, something, what would you say to your younger self? What counsel would you give?
Ooh, well, I think I would say that continue to persevere, that even though it doesn't look like it's working, it will eventually work out. It might take years, but just keep going. Just keep going and keep moving towards your goals. Don't even change. I remember one pastor told me, I better not come back and see you as a teacher, because it had taken so long for me to get to law school. And I'm not a teacher, I'm a lawyer. And the thing is that you can't see in the beginning where you're trying to go in the end, but just keep going. And that's what I would say to my younger self. Just keep going. Whether it's trying to buy a house, like I'm trying, whether it's marriage, kids, your professional goals, whatever it is you want to see with your loved ones, relationships restored, whatever it is, it may take a long time, but just keep going. Don't give up.
Well said. Thank you for sharing that. Great time chatting with you, Lakuita. Really, thank you for being here. This has been an enlightening conversation, as per usual. What a pleasure it is to talk to you. Maybe you'll come back again. We can chat some more about something else. I'm glad to have you on the show, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for having me on here, Brandon. I'm so proud of you, and I'm just excited of what you're doing to shed light on the legal profession. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't take those words lightly. So enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk soon. All right, friends, hold what you got. We'll be right back with the Wellness Check. All right, friends, it's now time for our Wellness Check. Today, the Wellness Check is stop borrowing grief from the future. Let's stop borrowing grief from the future. If you're like me, you're probably worried about what tomorrow holds. You're probably worried about bills. You're worried about how this and that's going to work out. Some people, and I've been talking to folks about this, are dealing with anticipatory grief of losing a loved one, which I can testify to, right? And what is that? That's like, you're taking care of a loved one, an older loved one, and you're thinking about what it's going to feel like when you actually lose them, when and if we actually lose them. So I get that. That's a real thing. There are real worries that we have each and every day. But the concern here, or the problem is that future grief, that future anxiety, that anxiety of the future prevents us, or can prevent us, from being present today. And so we can miss the flowers that are growing right before us. We can miss the growth. We can miss the opportunities that are happening right in front of our face if we're busy borrowing grief from the future. So that's our wellness check today. Be present in this day and every day. Do your best. Do our best. Let us do our best to be present and to make the most of every single day. That's your wellness check today, friends. Remember to live life in peace and not pieces. We'll be right back with our Apex Highlight. Well, friends, we are back, and it's now time for our Apex Highlight. I am so super excited, super duper excited to chat with my friend, my colleague, my brother. I often call him my twin. His name is Andrew Kirkland. He is the founder and CEO of Creative Mindset Consulting. What he does is he does everything nonprofits. His business is tailored to helping nonprofit organizations be their absolute best. He's got clients all over the country. He's got his start at the Boys and Girls Club. He spent a lot of time there and is doing some great work all around the country, really helping nonprofits be their very best. Today, he's also representing one of his clients. It's called End Time Harvest Ministries. It's a nonprofit organization in which I happen to be the chair. I chair the board. And so we're going to have him. He's in his official capacity as special advisor to that organization. And he's going to talk a little bit about them, but we're going to talk more about him today. Well, that's what I really want to talk about. So I am excited to welcome my friend Andrew Kirkland to the show. Andrew, welcome to Lawyerish.
Hey, Brandon, and I'm so happy to be a part of Lawyerish. I can't say it sometimes. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yes, the excitement is bubbling over. That's what that is. So we welcome you. Andrew represents the great state of Florida, plus the great state of Maryland. That's his home now. But he really is all over the place in terms of impact. And so we're excited to have you here, Andrew. So can you just tell us a little bit first about Creative Mindset Consulting? Tell us about how you came to starting this phenomenal business. You're tailored only to nonprofit organizations, and you're helping folks to maximize their efforts and their impact. So can you tell us, how did you get here? How did we get here?
Yeah. Well, I have spent my whole life working in nonprofits, and I've worked in small nonprofits, large nonprofits, national nonprofits, international nonprofits. And what I found is nonprofits often needed support, external support, subject matter expert support from consultants. And I would see these consultant contracts come in at hundreds of thousands of dollars and thought, wow, this is very interesting that we're paying all of this money for these very few hours of support, and often nothing happened, right? No change really happened in the nonprofit. And when I left my job, I decided that I wanted to start something that would allow all nonprofits, regardless of their budgets, to be able to get access to quality expert services in the field of running a nonprofit. And so that's how we started 8 years ago. I can't believe it. We've been at this for 8 years, providing services that at first was only here in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, but now we have expanded nationwide and providing services all over the nation and working with nonprofits, specifically those smaller nonprofits, to ensure that they get access to the same quality services as those big nonprofits across the states.
Yeah, and you're doing great work like executive coaching. You're doing board development. You're helping with staffing issues, right? Really dealing with like sort of the systemic efforts of a nonprofit to expand their longevity and expand their reach. Can you tell us a little bit about, maybe like drill in a little bit more? What does that kind of look like in terms of like, how do you decide what an organization needs and how do you go about sort of filling that if you can?
Well, our first approach is through the executive coaching capacity building program. And that typically is a 3-year program that our nonprofits sign up to participate in. And it's 3 years and it's very intensive because we recognize that a lot of what we do in the nonprofit sector is transformational. But the only way to be transformational is to make sure that we change some of our behaviors, some of our beliefs, some of our ways of being, so we really can be transformational. And that doesn't happen overnight. It often doesn't happen within 6 months. And sometimes it's even harder to happen within 3 years. But our engagement with executive coaching works with an executive director and their leadership team every week for hours of each week, and imparting tools and tips and wisdom that allows them to be successful. But the big piece is about helping our nonprofits be able to pivot, able to change some of their beliefs, their mentalities, their cultures, to be able to really impact the community. And that work really happens. And so we do a lot of assessments and making sure that nonprofits are ready for that level of engagement. And after they're able to complete the capacity building program, we're able to offer them some specialized services like recruiting for staff or management services that sometimes our consultants will serve as the COO or CFO for a period of time until the organization is able to hire a full-time representative in that position. So, and then a lot of what we do, about 50% of our business, is around training and professional development. Well, we go around the world providing trainings to nonprofits in the areas of human resources, financial management, marketing, communications, fundraising, board development, leadership development. We provide a host of trainings to ensure that nonprofits are prepared for serving today's young people, today's workforce, today's community.
Yeah, that's great work that you guys are doing. I feel like you're always doing a training. You're like, I've had the pleasure of sitting through a few of your trainings, particularly on the board level, where you're training board directors on how to fundraise and how to be, what it actually means to be a board director. And it's probably one of the most enlightening trainings that I've ever sat through. And so I would just encourage any nonprofits that are listening, you're having problems with your board, you're going to want to reach out to Andrew at Creative Mindset Consulting, because they will get your board together. But it sounds like you get the executive director together first. That's what that sounds like.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so you're here today as part of in your official capacity as special advisor to End Time Harvest Ministries. This is one of the organizations that's going to benefit from our October fundraiser, and so we wanted to have an opportunity to kind of talk about them and what they do. So can you, I guess I could probably do this too, but as the chair, but you're the guest today, and so I would like for you to tell us about End Time Harvest Ministries. What does this organization do?
Well, thank you. And that's amazing, because End Time Harvest Ministries and Creative Mindset Consulting met about 6 years ago. They were first a part of this 3-year capacity building program, and then we continue our engagement with them to strengthen the organization's ability to serve more youth. End Time Harvest Ministries was founded almost about 30 years ago by Reverend Gail Addison in the port towns of Prince George's County, Maryland. And really with the goal at that time, crime was at a very historic high within the community. And so Reverend Addison, after retiring from the federal government, said, and as a minister said, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to work with young people to be able to change the trajectory of their lives. And so she did, and she created End Time Harvest Ministries that really focuses on working with high school students now, preparing them for college or with a plan for the future, giving them workforce development training, instilling service learning within their everyday life. And so the End Time Harvest Ministries and their staff work with these young people, often young people who English is not their first language, or young people who might be immigrants in some other part of the world here to the States, and really working with them to make sure that they're prepared for college and for the workforce. And so we know that not every young person is going to go on to college, but we really want to make sure that they're ready for the workforce. And so one of the goals at End Time Harvest Ministries is to ensure that, students graduate high school on time with a plan. And so over the last almost 30 years of existence, End Time Harvest Ministries has ensured about 99% of the young people that they serve graduate high school on time with a plan for the future. And that's a big statement, right? Because in Maryland and in Prince George's County, only about 74% of students graduate high school on time or at all. And so End Time Harvest Ministries having a track record of having about 99% of those young people graduate high school on time with a plan for the future is just a remarkable outcome and a remarkable thing to celebrate that's happening here in Maryland.
Absolutely, and something we're continually proud of the hard work of Reverend Addison and the other staff members there, and all of our partners in the community as well. Right. So we appreciate that. We couldn't do that without their hard work and dedication. So shout out to Reverend Addison and all of our young people in Maryland there. One of the big things of the organization, the council, we're working with the young people and getting them in sort of council like activities. They have a president and others, and so they're really doing some good work and getting some great experience there, as well as the other piece is the summer jobs program, right? That where they really get jobs, right? They get jobs at real companies, and they learn how to work, how to show up on time and work etiquette. And Reverend Addison works really hard with them on conflict resolution and lots of other things. So we shout out to all the people at End Time Harvest Ministries. Love the work that you're doing over there in Maryland. Did I leave anything out? I think we kind of double teamed them pretty good on.
I think we did. I think we did. I mean, we gave all the kudos and talked about the amazing work. I can't stress the work that they're doing. Is pretty amazing within Prince George's County. So no, I think we have given them their flowers for the great work that they've done.
Very good. So if you wanted to learn more about End Time Harvest Ministry, certainly go to our website. That's ethm.org, I believe. You can see some of the videos and some of the work that we've been committed to for so many years. Andrew, I want to get back to you and some of your journey, because you really helped me to get to a wellness journey of my own, right? I want to be clear about how I say that too, because it's a journey. One does not start and finish it. It is an ongoing journey. And you and I met at a particularly interesting point in my life. And I think just being able to know you and talk with you and be friends with you really helped me in a space where I wasn't sure about what wellness was and what that looked like. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that. In fact, just if you heard me in Wellness Check, I said, remember to live life in peace and not pieces. That's something I got from you. Like I got that directly from you. I'm sure you got it from somewhere too, but I learned that from you. And so I want to talk a little bit about that with some of our time today. How do you stay focused and generate a space of wellness? Because you do that for yourself, but you do such a good job of feeding others, really, when it comes to this wellness space. So I want to know how you got to that space. What brought you to this space of wellness and peace that you're working so hard to achieve and to maintain?
Well, that's a great question. And I think part of it has been really just taking time out for myself, right? We think that service to others means give everything you have and you're depleted. And so then you have nothing left for yourself. And I believe that taking care of self first means that that's not being selfish, as Iyanla would say, that's being self-full. That's filling your cup first. So what comes out of the cup can be for others. And so what I've realized in this wellness journey is about taking care of self, right? Whether it is taking walks or taking long baths or, doing whatever that is pouring back into yourself, and then doing some daily reminders, right? Doing daily reminders that, be good to yourself, speak well of yourself, right? Every day that you're doing this work, speak well of yourself. And that's a big part of the wellness piece. That's a big part of the giving yourself grace to be who you need to be. And then, of course, as Iyanla said, right, don't leave in pieces, but leave in peace. And so every intention that I have when I encounter someone else is really about leaving them in peace, leaving them whole, leaving them better, because I believe what you put out into the world, what you give to others, come back to you. And I feel like my life is so blessed and so filled with joy and love and peace. It's because I have the intention to do that for others. And so that feels like a boomerang of what comes back to me every single day. And I get joy by seeing other people have joy. And I get peace by bringing peace to other people.
Yeah, amen to that. And that shows, by the way, I think you exude that. And I think that's why so many people get so much from you. And one of the reasons why I like hanging out with you and just picking your brain a little bit. So I'm glad you're making some space for that today. But let me ask you something. So this has not been, you haven't always been here, right? And so what I want to know, you've had an extensive career both in nonprofit world and as a business owner. I'd like to know what's been your sort of most shining moment, and then what's been your most teachable moment, something you just like, ooh, okay, lesson learned. Okay. where are you in both of those?
Well, I'll start with my most teachable moment. My biological dad passed in 2008. And then I soon after moved here to DC, and I was determined to be better than he had shown. And I was working and I was doing all the things. I'm doing the things that I think a lot of Black men probably can identify with, right? And life was happening for me. And while my life and my professional career was soaring, my personal life was failing. And about 2014, I really found myself in a deep, dark depression. And I had never had any mental health challenges. I didn't understand what it meant. I didn't know, but I just knew that I couldn't get out of bed, right? I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by my emotions and by my feelings and by my grief. And what I realized in going through therapy is that I had never really mourned the death of my father, nor had I even honored what he did bring to the world, what he did bring to me. Even though our relationship wasn't always the best, there were still things there that were right in me, that was still laying dormant in me, that I was battling, that I didn't know. And so one of my greatest life lessons and one of the greatest things that I've learned is to give grief a moment, to allow yourself to feel and to deal and to heal. And also recognizing that grief deserves a witness. When people are in grief, it deserves someone to witness what they're going through and to stand with them and to stand by them so that they know that they're not alone. And I've learned that lesson. So now, after have had other griefs and other moments of loss, since that moment, I was able to stand up in it. I was able to anchor myself in a space that I don't know that I would have ever been able to. Owning a business, it's hard. And it's been 8 years I owned this business, and it soared during COVID, right? I had a lot of self-doubt. I had a lot of doubt that this wouldn't happen. but it was something that my dad taught me. It was something that he imparted in me. It was something of him that showed up in me that allowed me to still sit here before you today. And so grief can be a teacher, and we should sometimes allow the lessons to show up in our lives. And so I would say that's one of my biggest lessons. It's like, honoring that space in my life. And I think one of my shining moments is probably doing what I'm doing right now, right? Being able to help, being able to serve, being able to bring joy and peace and a lot of laughter to space brings me joy. It's something that was given to me along the way, and I feel like I'm giving it back to others. And I feel like that is my God-given purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's my God-given gift. And so I feel like I'm walking in that every single day. And so because I'm doing that, I feel very whole and complete for myself and for doing this work.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you can walk in your purpose and really begin to flourish in your purpose. That is a beautiful thing. And so I'm witnessing that. I'm loving that on you. It looks good on you, I must say.
Thank you.
So my last question, what counsel would you give your younger self or some other young entrepreneur or nonprofit person? What counsel would you give as they kind of go through their day to day?
Well, I'm going to split that in half, because the counsel I would give my younger self is you're bad to the bone, right? Like, what I realized is I was wise beyond my years at 14. I was clear about my goals. I knew I wanted something more. And every time I started to think, maybe I'm just too ambitious, or maybe I'm just weird and it's not true or whatever. And I would say to myself, walk with your head held high, because you, my friend, are bad to the bone. And that is just what it is. And I would also say to folks who are leading nonprofits, who are entrepreneurs, who are business leaders, like, every day, some days you just won't win. Some days you will, failing forward is okay. And don't be afraid of what you don't know. And don't be afraid of stepping out and taking a risk and it doesn't work out, right? That's a part of life. And if you're doing it with the right intention, you're doing it with the right awareness, it will come back to you. It will come back to you, and it will make room for you. And so know that, a part of our process is take risks, fail forward and fail often, learn, and don't give up. Know that you have a special gift that you can offer to the world.
Beautifully said. I think you and Ms. Bittle must have been in my notes today, because that's going to be part of the motivational moment. I guess that's the God-given sort of alignment today. So I appreciate that. All right. We're out of time. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you making the time. I know how busy your schedule is. So we're grateful to have you as our Apex Highlight guest today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. And Brandon, this is an amazing platform. Thank you for creating it and giving space to all of us to offer something to others.
Ashe. All right, friends, we'll be right back. Hold what you got. We'll be right back with our motivational moment. Well, friends, we're back. It's now time for our long-awaited motivational moment. I won't spend too much time on it because I think we've heard it already. That thing has been preaching this whole episode, and it is don't let taking an L make you an L. All right, L's are going to happen. You're going to take an L. We're gonna take some losses. That is part of life, as you just heard Andrew say, and as you've heard Lakuita mention as well. We're not going to win every battle. It's up to us to not make taking a loss, make that or let that define us into a loser. That doesn't mean you're a loser because you lost. You got to fail forward. We got to get back up when we get knocked down. Taking an L does not make you a loser. It does not define you. It does not make you a loser. There is a bigger, greater plan for you if you just keep going. All right, that's your motivational moment. Don't let taking an L make you an L. That's not who you are. You're a winner. All right, that's your motivational moment. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Well, friends, we've done it again. This is season 3, episode 7. So grateful to have you listening and watching. Really appreciate your support. Thank you for your comments as well. Keep them coming. I appreciate the text messages and emails that you're sending. Remember to email your questions to us at lawyerish@apexgroupdc.com. That's lawyerish@apexgroupdc.com. Keep your comments coming. I appreciate that. I thank you for those who are listening and for those who are chiming in and staying engaged with us. We really appreciate that. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Like any voyage, it's just a little bit more fun if you can bring a friend or two along. Remember that Lawyerish is brought to you by Apex, where aptitude meets excellence, and powered by the Green Law Firm, your one-stop shop for everything real estate in Tennessee and Mississippi. Our voyage vibe today is brought to us by Mr. David Higgins. This is Back Bit of Sound. Shout out to Memphis Music Bank for this opportunity to get to shout out some of these independent artists. We appreciate y'all and the work that you do. Hey, friends, until next time, be well. Thank you for your support.